The Violence of Non-Acknowledgement. 1. The word and its echo. Every word once spoken waits for an echo. Not a perfect repetition, not even agreement, but a simple confirmation that it has passed through the air and into the hearing of another. To speak is to risk. It is to place one's inner life into the open, to say, here I am, here is my need, my thought, my breath. Without acknowledgement, the word falls into silence as into a pit. What wounds is not merely uncertainty, but the suggestion that nothing was spoken at all. A person feels as though erased. 2. The smallest gesture. It does not take much to confirm the reality of the other. A nod, a yes, a hand raised in reply. In digital speech, a thumbs up suffices. The magnitude of the act is negligible, but its absence is tremendous. For acknowledgement is not about information transfer, it is about relation. One could argue, if the message is received and acted upon, why complain? But the soul is not content with efficiency alone. It seeks the recognition of its presence in the order of the world. 3. Silence as answer. There is silence which consoles, silence of prayer, of shared grief, of reverence before mystery. But there is another silence that is not fullness but void, silence that follows upon address, that comes when one has asked, "Do you see me? Do you hear me?" And the answer is, nothing. This silence cuts deeper than harsh words. For insult still confirms the bond of speech, but non-acknowledgement suggests there is no bond at all. 4. The intercom. In the hospital, one presses the button. Pain runs down the spine like fire and the voice calls out, asking for aid. A reply comes, "Yes, what do you want?" The patient asks for the nurse, for relief. And then, a click, dead air. "No. All right, I will send her." "No. Okay." The silence that follows is heavier than the weight of the body in pain. For in that moment the world seems indifferent, unhearing. The sick one is left alone, not only with suffering but with doubt. Did they hear? Will anyone come? Am I still here? 5. Ontological recognition. Human life depends on acknowledgement because existence itself is relational. To be is to be recognized, to be addressed and answered. The infant cries and the mother responds. In that loop of sound and reply, personhood begins. To refuse acknowledgement is to fracture that loop, to deny, however subtly, the being of the other. The violence of non-acknowledgement is metaphysical. It says, you are not real enough to warrant response. 6. The economy of attention. In an age of endless messages, replies, notifications, one might argue that non-acknowledgement is unavoidable. Who has time to answer every text, to return every glance? Yet the very abundance of communication makes acknowledgement all the more sacred. Amid the flood, the small, "I heard you," is an anchor. Its absence is felt as betrayal, because it reveals the cheapness with which we treat presence itself. 7. The wound of uncertainty. When words vanish into silence, the speaker is thrown into doubt. Did my message fail to send? Did the nurse ignore me? Did my friend see the text and not care enough to reply? Non-acknowledgement produces not clarity but uncertainty, which gnaws at the mind. A harsh "no" closes the matter, painful but complete. Silence leaves the wound open, festering. In this sense, non-acknowledgement is crueler than denial. 8. The minimal contract of humanity. At the root of social existence lies a contract. When addressed, acknowledge. It need not be elaborate. It may be a grunt, a glance, a nod. To acknowledge is to say, I have seen you pass before me. You are not a ghost. When this contract is broken, one falls into an exile more profound than physical isolation. For even among a crowd, non-acknowledgement makes one invisible. 9. The cruelty of efficiency. One might defend the nurse at the intercom. She is busy, she intends to send help. Why waste time with pleasantries? But to reduce relation to function is to misunderstand the human. The patient does not need pleasantries. He needs to know that his cry has entered another's care. Efficiency without acknowledgement is brutality dressed in logic. 10. Digital mirrors. The same logic governs our digital exchanges. A friend receives a message, urgent or tender, mundane or profound. They do not reply. Days pass. Perhaps they read it and were distracted. Perhaps they chose silence. The result is the same. The sender feels annihilated. The phone becomes a mirror that reflects only oneself, no other gaze. Non-acknowledgement here is not absence, it is presence without relation, which is worse. 11. The abyss of indifference. Indifference differs from hostility. To be hated is to be recognized as an enemy. To be ignored is to be treated as nothing. Non-acknowledgement, therefore, is the purest form of indifference. It is annihilation without drama. Its violence lies in its subtlety. It does not strike, it erases. 12. The human plea. What every cry seeks beneath its content is simply this: tell me that I am heard. The child asking for water, the worker raising a concern, the friend sending a message, all want to know that their voice has weight in the world. Non-acknowledgement tells them the opposite, that their voice is lighter than air, vanishing before it reaches an ear. 13. Recognition and dignity. Dignity is not a lofty abstraction. It is built from the smallest acts of recognition. To meet another's eyes, to nod in reply, to murmur assent. These are bricks of human worth. Strip them away and a person is left bare, exposed to doubt. The violence of non-acknowledgement is thus a theft of dignity. 14. The hospital as theater. Nowhere is acknowledgement more vital than where suffering reigns. The hospital is not only a site of medicine but of recognition. The patient is weak, dependent, exposed. A single word of acknowledgement, "Yes, I heard you, help is coming," can sustain hope. Its absence turns the bed into a cell. The body suffers not only disease, but invisibility. 15. The paradox of smallness. What makes non-acknowledgement violent is its disproportion. The act required is small. The wound it leaves is vast. A single word could prevent the collapse of trust. Its absence creates suspicion, fear, and alienation. The paradox is that the tiniest gestures bear the greatest weight. 16. The political dimension. Non-acknowledgement is not only personal, it is political. Whole groups of people have been silenced, their voices ignored, their cries unacknowledged. To erase testimony, to refuse to respond to grievance, is to commit violence on a grand scale. What begins in the hospital room or the unreturned text becomes, on the stage of history, systemic oppression. 17. The echo of God. In many traditions, prayer is thought to be heard by the divine, whether or not an answer comes. What sustains the believer is the assurance that no word vanishes unheard. Imagine if God refused acknowledgement, not even silence that is full of presence, but silence that is void. Such a God would be intolerable. Likewise, in human life, acknowledgement is the minimal divinity we owe one another. 18. The pedagogy of reply. Children learn who they are through acknowledgement. The infant babbles, and the parent responds with laughter or imitation. This loop teaches the child that its sounds matter. To grow without acknowledgement is to grow into a shadow. Adults, though hardened, still hunger for the same loop. To be acknowledged is to be taught again and again that one belongs. 19. The temptation of withdrawal. Faced with repeated non-acknowledgement, one is tempted to cease speaking altogether. Why cry out if no one replies? Yet this withdrawal deepens the violence. The victim of silence becomes silent, confirming the erasure. Here lies the true danger. Non-acknowledgement breeds silence, which breeds further non-acknowledgement, until society itself collapses into mute indifference. 20. The practice of acknowledgement. What then is required? A discipline of reply. Not every word needs an essay, not every message a long response, but every word deserves recognition. I hear you. Got it. A nod, a hand raised, a glance. These are not courtesies but necessities. They maintain the thread of relation on which human dignity hangs. 21. Conclusion. The violence unveiled. Non-acknowledgement is a subtle violence because it hides under the guise of nothingness. It leaves no visible wound, no scar. Yet it strikes at the root of being, the need to be heard, seen, recognized. In the hospital bed, in the text message, in the cries of the oppressed, its cruelty is the same. To acknowledge is to affirm existence. To refuse is to erase. And erasure is violence.